Tonight,
we are passing today a war powers resolution.
the drive on Capitol Hill to limit the president's power to deploy the military, and attacks against members of the Jewish community on the rise.
The scourge of anti-Semitism is alive and well.
America's fight for Jews around the world. Plus, securing voting machines ahead of the 2020 election. All this and more tonight on Faith Nation.
A vote to rein in the president's war powers. Welcome to Faith Nation. I'm Jenna Browder.
And I'm John Jessup. Speaker Nancy Pelosi says the U.S. House is sending a clear message to President Trump by taking up the war powers resolution.
But House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy says today's vote is meaningless and holds no power.
Capitol Hill correspondent Abigail Robertson has been tracking the run-up to the vote all day and joins us now for more. Abigail?
Well, John, as with many things on Capitol Hill, there is a lot of disagreement over what, if anything, this war powers resolution does. Now, Speaker Pelosi says it was very intentionally written as a concurrent resolution, meaning it does not go to President Trump's desk for a signature because he would assuredly veto this legislation. And it also means that it cannot become law. But Speaker Pelosi argues it still has teeth because it is a statement of Congress, while House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy says it is meaningless. Take a look.
We're taking this path because it does not require a statement by a signature of the President of the United States. This is a statement of the Congress of the United States, and I will not have that statement be diminished by whether the President will veto it or not.
This is a meaningless vote that only sends the wrong message. It has no power. It has no power whatsoever. It's equivalent to when we invite the soapbox derby to the Capitol Hill.
Now, some Republicans in the House say that they are open to members of the House Freedom Caucus, which is a very conservative Republican group here in the House. They say that they're open to a discussion on executive privilege and powers to go to war, but they did not support this because they say that it is just an attack on President Trump.
Abby, how much support does this resolution have over in the Senate?
Well, in the Senate, Democrats seem very unified in their support of this resolution, and Senator Tim Kaine has introduced very similar legislation in the Senate, and it also has garnered support from two unlikely supporters, conservative Republican Senators Mike Lee and Rand Paul, who said after yesterday's intelligence briefing they have a lot of questions on President Trump's actions in Iran. Take a look.
And I want to be clear, my concern is prospective, is with where we go from here. Right. The biggest thing that I found troubling from that briefing was the suggestion that, number one, they would discourage us from debating things like a War Powers Act resolution, and number two, their unwillingness to identify some point at which they would need to come to Congress to get authorization for the use of military force. I find that very troubling.
Now, many other Republican senators that I've spoken with today do not agree with Senator Lee and tell me that they were very satisfied after hearing the intelligence briefing that President Trump did the right thing in Iran. Back to you, John and Jenna.
All right, Abigail Robertson on Capitol Hill, thank you. Well, the Trump administration is defending the briefings its national security team gave lawmakers yesterday. Democrats and even some Republicans blasting the meeting. And as Abby was talking about, Senator Mike Lee, who you just saw there of Utah, he called it the worst military briefing he had ever had. Here is Vice President Pence in response.
When it comes to intelligence, we have to protect sources and methods. And so there's only a certain amount that we can share with every member of Congress. But those of us who have seen all the evidence know that there is a compelling case of an imminent threat against American personnel, and President Trump was right to act.
And the administration hasn't released many more details of the potential threat, but some say Soleimani was planning for something in the coming days, not weeks. And new suspicion tonight over that deadly plane crash in Iran. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says there is intelligence from multiple sources indicating the Ukrainian airliner was shot down by an Iranian surface-to-air missile. U.S. officials say reportedly agree. The president weighed in today at the White House.
In terms of impeachment, you will keep asking me the same question.
And all 176 people on board died when the plane went down. The crash came just a few hours after Iran launched its attack against the Iraqi military base home to American troops. The Associated Press reports U.S. officials aren't saying what intelligence they have to indicate it was an Iranian missile, but acknowledge satellite communication intercepts and other intelligence in the region.
Speaker Nancy Pelosi could be close to sending the articles of impeachment over to the Senate soon. This as President Trump ramped up his attack on Democrats for stalling the process. CBN White House correspondent Ben Kennedy joins us from the North Lawn. Ben, what's Speaker Pelosi saying now?
Well, John, today Pelosi refused to turn over the articles to the Senate, but adds she will not hold on to them forever, but will hand them over when she is ready.
Now, in terms of impeachment, you will keep asking me the same question. I keep giving you the same answer. As I said right from the start, we need to see the arena in which we are sending our managers. Is that too much to ask?
Now, Pelosi has received some pushback from some Democratic senators who said it is time for her to end this standoff. Senator Dianne Feinstein said the longer it goes on, the less urgent it becomes, adding that if it's serious and urgent, send them over. If it isn't, do not send it over. As for President Trump, he claims Democrats don't have a case against him, tweeting today, Pelosi doesn't want to hand over the articles of impeachment, which were fraudulently produced by corrupt politicians like Shifty Schiff in the first place, because after all these years of investigations and persecution, they show no crimes and are a joke and a scam.
These are corrupt politicians. The whole thing is a hoax. But I would like to hear Hunter Biden, Joe Biden, Adam, Shifty Schiff, and some others. The informer that never showed up. You know, once I released the transcript, you know what happened. The informer, he never showed up.
Senator Lindsey Graham says if impeachment isn't set down by week's end, which is tomorrow, he is ready to submit a resolution that is to compel her to release the articles. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell said he has the votes to start the process without promising to call witnesses. But Democrats say without calling witnesses, it'll be an unfair trial. John, Jenna?
All right, thank you, Ben. I'm here now to discuss with CBN's chief political analyst, David Brody. David, what is Nancy Pelosi's strategy here, and is it working?
Well, it's not working because they're going over to the Senate, these articles of impeachment. Her strategy has been to hold out, hoping she can get 4 Republican senators to vote with the 47 Democrats in the Senate to go ahead and call the witnesses that they wanted. Buzzer sound, didn't work, it's over. And it's interesting because, I got to tell you, the House all along, and Pelosi specifically, had said there's this big rush. Donald Trump is a threat to national security, and we've got to do this right away. We've got to get to this impeachment vote before Christmas. And then a want. We wait 3 weeks because we have to decide how this is going to roll out. I mean, the fact that is it a rush job or is it not a rush? I mean, to me, it was just all discombobulated from the very beginning.
Interestingly, Time magazine had this headline that said Nancy Pelosi has gone all in on impeachment. We're talking about the same speaker who held off for so long. Why does it appear that she's gone all in?
Well, she's gone all in because she thinks that this is going to ultimately lead to Donald Trump's defeat in November of 2020. I think the calculus is wrong there, but we're going to wait and see.
It looks like the Senate trial could happen in the very near future. Some are saying as early as next week. What are you hearing?
Yeah, I think it's probably going to start Tuesday. We've heard that it's going to start Monday. I don't think it's going to happen. It'll probably start Tuesday. That's my sense of it, kind of putting it all together into the scrambler here. And yes, it's a scrambler, trust me. But then after that, remember, senators have been told don't go home on Thursday like you normally do next week, because once that Senate trial starts, here we go. We're going through continuously, except for Sunday, the Lord's Day, of course. But after that, every day, they will go 6 days a week until this thing is over. Chief Justice John Roberts will be the presiding officer. He won't be a judge there. He'll be the presiding officer. Very important. what if we're 50-50 on some of these votes? The answer, real quick, is he's going to punt that and say, Senators, you decide.
You guys working about it.
Yeah, because I'm sure not going to do it. I'm Chief Justice John Roberts.
Well, David, lawmakers, they are moving to rein in the president's war powers. How much could this handcuff the president, and do you think it could actually happen?
No, it's not going to happen for sure, because the Senate Republicans will stop it, so they don't have the votes in the Senate. Potentially, could it handcuff the president? Well, sure, if it passed, and when I say handcuffed, at least politically speaking, because it would basically say that you've got to go through Congress to basically have this blueprint strategy of war with Iran. But none of that's going to happen
So
at all.
is Kevin McCarthy right when he calls this a meaningless effort?
Oh, 100%. I mean, it's all political, for sure. Now, having said that, Mike Lee and Rand Paul are actually agreeing in this case with Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats. So there is some view here that, and this gets into constitutionality, but there is some view here whether or not who's right in this situation.
A new poll shows by USA Today shows that Americans 2-to-1 do not believe that America is safer with Soleimani dead. That goes against with what the administration and President Trump has been saying. How does President Trump sell this to the American people?
More details. I mean, they've got it. You know, they keep saying days. The attack was
threat.
The threat was days away, not weeks away. Okay, so what exactly? You know, every time we hear about a threat that threatens the homeland, we're always told, you know, they were going to blow up Times Square, they were going to do this, they were going to do that. You need to give me another line or two. And I think everybody would like to have a little bit more. You don't have to compromise sources and methods and intelligence gathering, but, you know, give us exactly what was planned to a degree. And I think that will help the poll numbers. It'll help the president as well.
All right. David, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, David. And we'll be right back after the break.
Introducing the CBN Bible from CBN.com. Now, an easier way to study the Bible and grow in your faith. Highlight your favorite verse. Read separate versions at a glance. Click and read a commentary. Or cross-reference your favorite verse using the Strong's Concordance. All the right tools to study the Bible, all in one place. The CBN Bible, available at cbn.com/Bible or the iTunes App Store.
This is CBN News Watch.
Thanks for joining us.
Watch breaking news, exclusive stories and programs, credible news reporting.
We show you what's happening in the world and how you can pray about it.
This is CBN News Watch, because truth matters. Weekdays at 5 on the CBN News Channel.
Yes, right on time.
From Superbook.
Pepper's Pizza Palace is donating pizza for everyone today. Wait. I have big plans today.
Trust in God even when times are tough. He has a plan for your life.
Hey, we're going to be late for the grand opening. My parents want me to help with this outreach thing, feeding the community. What am I supposed to do here? Superbook!
Join the Superbook Club and get Superbook The Birth of Moses, plus 2 copies to share with others, all for your gift of only $25.
Pharaoh ordered all newborn Hebrew boys thrown into the Nile River, and I have a 3-month-old brother.
The Birth of Moses. Yours for a gift of only $25.
What will you do the next time the soldiers come? I do not know, but I trust God has a plan for all of us.
Superbook Club members free streaming for seasons 1, 2, and 3 is now available.
Anti-Semitism on the rise across the globe. Jewish communities are facing increasing hatred in the form of vandalism, Holocaust denial, violent attacks, hate speech, and harmful stereotypes. Nevada Senator Jackie Rosen addressed the rising tide this week at a hearing for the U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom.
This epidemic has been on the rise, as we know, and it must be taken seriously. Anti-Semitism, acts of hate, they are growing at an alarming rate. Earlier this year, the State Department called the rise in anti-Semitism worse than it has been in decades. And its impacts go far beyond the Jewish community.
And the Democrat from Nevada added a warning from the State Department that, quote, wherever anti-Semitism has gone unchecked, the persecution of others has been present or not far behind.
And And here with us now is Gary Bauer, the Commissioner of the U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom, or USCIRF, an advocate for religious liberty around the world. Gary, thank you for being with us.
Great to be with you.
Well, first off, what is behind the growing threat to Jewish communities?
You know, this is an ancient evil, as most people know, and the threat comes from all sorts of places. It's on the radical right. It's on the radical left. It's unfortunately at times inside the church. Certainly radical Islam and the spread of radical Islam is a major factor. So because it comes from so many different places, there's, we believe, a responsibility for wherever it pops up for the people in that movement, that part of American life or international life, needs to take the initiative to combat it.
And Gary, how are nations around the world responding to these threats?
You know, in some places around the world, anti-Semitism is state policy, national policy. Iran's been in the news a lot. We should remember that Iran and the Iranian Revolution in 1979, its reason for existence was to destroy the nation of Israel. And it's routine for mobs to march through the streets of Tehran, chanting death to the Jews, death to America, death to Israel. Countries of Europe say they're concerned about growing anti-Semitism, but the Commission has, U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom, has been monitoring this situation, and all too often we see Western European countries making excuses for it. And even here in the United States, there's been anti-Semitism in the halls of Congress. Most of us watched in horror when the House of Representatives didn't seem to be able to come up with a clear-cut denunciation of anti-Semitism by one of its members without throwing a bunch of things in it that had nothing to do with hatred of Jews.
Speaking of Congress, we know there was a hearing just yesterday on this. Is Congress doing enough?
This Congress has been relatively good on the issue, except for the incident I just referred to involving one particular Muslim member of Congress. But particularly in the United States Senate, there's a solid majority for fighting anti-Semitism. Members of Congress of both political parties have denounced the BDS movement, which is the boycott, divestment, and sanction movement of Israel, which has clearly as its inspiration anti-Semitism. So both members of parties have condemned it, but we couldn't get a consensus in Congress. And fortunately, we've got a president that is adamant against anti-Semitism, and he took the initiative then and issued an executive order basically penalizing universities that don't deal with the anti-Semitism on campus.
Gary, real quickly here, just under a minute left. Are measures like increasing security at synagogues and focusing on education to counter prejudice, are these type of programs really working?
Well, security at places of worship, I think in the world we live in today, and even in our own country, sadly, that's extremely important. That's a prudent thing to do. But the long-term problem does require educating young people. We have studies that show most people in Europe, young people in Europe, don't even know what the Holocaust was. So educating against hate, educating for freedom, these are important things that we can do.
All right, Gary Bauer with the U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom. Thank you for being with us.
Great to be here.
Still ahead on Faith Nation, less than 300 days to election 2020. The steps being taken to prevent voter interference.
When I came to Regent University, it's like the world opened up. I felt like I needed to advance my career and go back to school. Regent was a perfect fit for me. The Regent professors are world class. You are equipped. The focus of the faculty is on each individual student, whether it's online or in person. You become a part of Regent's family. You carry with you not just the content and the knowledge, but the confidence to understand that we can be significant in the world.
Regent University. Follow your path.
Nigerian Christians
in Iran are routinely arrested.
Happily, Christians continue to suffer.
In times of trial and affliction, you need to know the truth.
One of the fastest growing Christian populations in the world.
Join Wendy Griffith and George Thomas for Christian World News.
Young people are the ones who are open to the gospel.
Powerful stories of suffering and hope that affect all Christians. Watch Christian World News, Saturday at 5 p.m. Get Protect Your Sleep and discover how to improve the quality of your life. A free DVD or booklet from the Christian Broadcasting Network.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
5 leading experts help remove the obstacles between you and restorative sleep.
When you don't get a restful night's sleep, you wake up with an accumulation of stress.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to CBN.com to get your free DVD or booklet today.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
You'll discover how food affects your sleep, how to put insomnia to rest, explore effective remedies for sleep apnea, and much more in Protect Your Sleep. Wake up to your best life and get Protect Your Sleep today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to CBN.com to get your free DVD or booklet.
In 25 days, Democratic voters in Iowa will weigh in on who they want as their party's presidential nominee.
And as candidates make the last push ahead of the caucus, a leading First Amendment rights group says one of the state's largest universities is threatening Iowa students' freedom of speech when it comes to politics.
Here's Paul Strand.
Iowa State University insists it doesn't censor speech. But the First Amendment defense group Speech First says ISU does censor in several ways, including denying use of email on campus to support any candidate or ballot initiative.
I could see if you don't want faculty or administrators supporting a candidate, maybe sending an email to their class saying, vote for Hillary tomorrow kind of thing. But for students, I think it certainly raises a lot of concerns.
Another ISU policy almost totally bans the practice of chalking on campus.
The only people who are allowed to write with chalk on the sidewalk are registered student organizations that are advertising an event no more than 7 days out using no more than 7 words. The event must be open to the public. Anybody who were to chalk a hopscotch, I love Jane, on the sidewalk could be subject to disciplinary repercussions.
ISU's president sent CBN News a statement saying, Iowa State University does not punish individuals for their constitutionally protected rights to expression. She points out they have political candidates on campus and open forums where they discuss political issues. But she does admit they will stifle speech when necessary because our campus has also experienced bigoted, hateful, racist, and anti-Semitic messaging that, while protected by the First Amendment, is also hurtful and harmful to many students. Neely worries that could spread to punishing political speech.
There might be language that you don't like. The solution to that is not to censor students, not to shut them up, but instead to engage, use it as an opportunity for dialogue, for education, because the answer to bad speech is more speech, not silencing.
Speech First is suing ISU, arguing its policies have a chilling effect on students' First Amendment rights. Paul Strand, CBN News, Washington.
Well, the growing concern over election security brought the bosses of the country's biggest voting equipment companies to Capitol Hill today. CBN News national security correspondent Eric Phillips is with us now for more on the risk and what's being done to keep your vote safe. Eric?
Well, Jenna, after Russian meddling in the 2016 presidential election, election security focus turns to prevention in 2020. Lawmakers questioned 3 CEOs today on issues ranging from what is inside of the voting machines to who owns their companies.
The testimony you are about to give.
While it was the first time these 3 CEOs testified together before Congress, they each claimed to be moving to increase election security.
It is what every one of our employees wakes up and goes to bed thinking about. For us, every single day is election day.
Specifically, that means moving away from electronic machines without paper backup and not using machines connected to the internet to prevent hacking. Plus, they all say they've used third parties for testing.
Using the same modern security tools that hackers use to make sure our equipment is secure before it ever enters the federal program.
But House Administrative Committee members weren't satisfied, digging further about what's inside the machines.
Do you have components in your supply chain that come from either Russia or China?
We do have a limited number of components that come from China.
In fact, all of them say they do, like screens or chips.
Is it currently possible to build an election machine entirely out of U.S. manufactured parts?
I don't believe that it is possible today.
Do you see why that concerns all of us up here?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Another concern, ownership.
We are run by our management team, and we are owned, I believe, 76% by a U.S. private equity firm.
All right, Ms. Mathis?
Similar structure.
You see why that's concerning.
The CEOs said poll worker training and voter familiarity with machines will also help secure elections.
We want to protect our elections. We want to make sure your machines are unhackable.
But according to computer scientists who testified after the CEOs, that's not really realistic. They say despite $380 million approved by Congress in 2018 for election security, we as a country are still not ready for adversaries' attack on our elections. John and Jenna.
One small step for man, then one delicious treat for men and women in space. We'll explain next.
Christians around the world are standing with the Israelis. But why? In CBN's free magazine, Friends of Israel, you'll discover why Christians are supporting the Jewish state, how Israel is fulfilling prophecy as a light to the nations, and ways you can pray for the people of Israel. Israel needs the support of friends like you. Call now or go to cbn.com to get your free copy of Friends of Israel.
Heavenly Father, we do thank you for the work of your Spirit, Lord God, with this movement of getting the Bible,
yes,
Lord, into public schools.
Watch The Prayer Link, Tuesday nights at 6:30.
Hey, if you're tired and exhausted all day, you can't think clearly, and you really just need a cup or even a pot of coffee to get through your day, then join me, Dr. Josh Axe, for this new series where I'm going to teach you how to transform your diet and use essential oils and supplements to get a better night's sleep.
Protect your sleep and live your best life with innovative information from 5 leading sleep experts.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
Discover a sleep-enhancing bedtime routine, how to put insomnia to rest, learn how to relieve pain that disturbs sleep, and much more in Protect Your Sleep.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 to get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
Don't miss out on this brand new series.
After a month-long stint at the International Space Station, a SpaceX cargo ship has made its way back to Earth with some very precious cargo on board.
The spacecraft was carrying some space experiments, and Jenna, we're not talking about the mice that were on the International Space Station.
This is much sweeter than that.
Much sweeter, and more importantly, it held the first ever cookies baked in space. Before the cookies made their way back to Earth, astronaut Christina Cook tweeted this photo of one of the baked treats, made in a special oven provided by DoubleTree Hotels, a chain that's popular for giving cookies to their guests. Astronauts used pre-made dough from the hotel to cook up the first ever batch of baked space chocolate chip goodies. The compact oven, though, could only make one cookie at a time. The crew on the ISS sent back a batch of 5 back to Earth. I wonder who the 5 were to get those cookies.
I know, and I wonder if they taste any different than what we have here.
Do you have any fewer calories in those cookies?
Maybe. I mean, who knows? We got to try this. All right, that's going to do it for Faith Nation.
Have a great night.